killed by a shot in the head or a heavy blow to the skull.
Hey, true believers. Chris Mack with Comictopia, and I want to talk to y'all about organs tonight. Organs, you may ask. Yes, literally. Tonight we are going over Repo, the genetic opera. And this film is absolutely magnificent. I will admit that years ago when I was first introduced to this film, I dreaded having to watch it. I went with a friend to pick it up at Walmart, and I looked at it and I went, oh boy, this is going to be awful. And I'm just tend to be cynical that way, primarily because stage musicals do not translate well to film. Now, there are the few exceptions to the rule, but I remember sitting down and putting it on, and I was absolutely blown away. The way the film is shot, the mise-en-scène of everything in front of the camera is very dark, cyber noir rock opera. Now, the whole premise of Repo is it's the future, there's an epidemic of organ failures, and people are just dying left and right. So out of the ashes, a company called Geneco, they give people organ transplants. However, the downfall to this is when you sign a contract, it's just like when you sign for a house, a car. If you miss an X amount of payments, they have the repo man come and take your organs. And that's kind of the whole premise of the film. Now, is it any good after the scathing that I kind of gave it, and I said it was pretty good? Yes, it is. It was originally a stage play, and it was first called The Necro Merchant's Death. It was written by Darren Smith and Terrence Zydrate. It's Z-D-U-N-I-C-H. I'm not sure if I'm spelling that right, or saying it right, either or. But it eventually was translated into a movie. It was directed by Darren Lynn Bousman in 2008. And I looked up and I saw he directed Saw 2 through 4. Now, those aren't the greatest of the Saw films, but visually they were terrifying, and it really translates into this film. So we open up on the year 2056. The overture is mellow, somber. And then we burst in with an epidemic of organ failures. And it shows, as we were talking about a moment ago, how Geneco rose from the ashes to quote-unquote save the world. However, you can see the machinations that it has behind the scenes. Now, before we go any further, what throws me is this movie was originally planned as a trilogy. Repo was supposed to be the middle installment. Why they decided to start in the middle, I mean, who knows? I mean, I guess we could ask George Lucas why he wanted to do that, episodes 4 through 6. But this movie did not get any real backing, and, production-wise, being promoted. And so it took the, it took the actors and the production people to really push the film, from what I understand, actually having to take it out on the road themselves. After this awesome comic book sequence, we are introduced to the grave robber, who is played actually by Terrence Zydrate, and he's our creepy narrator, and he's the one that introduces us to. And then afterwards, we are introduced to Roddy Largo, CEO of Geneco, who's played by Paul Sorvino, and I loved him, absolutely loved him in the 95 version of Romeo and Juliet. And here, he still has that kind of hard-ass look. But you can see that he's a man in charge. Kind of like, let's say someone akin to Caesar, but he's being diagnosed with a terminal illness. The man who, quote unquote, saved the world can't save himself. And I love the irony of it. However, Roddy doesn't take the news too well. So after that horrific scene of Roddy kind of taking the news of his terminal diagnosis badly, we are then introduced to Shiloh Wallace, Alexa Vega. And she looks like an extra from the 9 Inch Nails Closer video. The way she's dressed up, you're just kind of like, she's either that or she escaped the Hot Topic mall. She's visiting her mom, Marnie Wallace. When we get into backstory, there's a actor, and the actor who plays Marnie is Sarah Power. She died from a rare blood disease, which from what we understand, Shiloh has as well. But while this is going on, because she's in this crypt, and the scenery is so macabre, and it just sucks you in, especially the music that's going on in the background. It just has that cyber noir. I mean, not cyber noir in terms of like Blade Runner, but in that different kind of goth aspect. But she ends up running into the grave robber, who is extracting this liquid from the dead, which is called Zydrate. Zydrate is a powerful painkiller, and it's a very, very addicting.
And it's my job to steal and rob.
Now, I bet you just can't wait to, shoot that up in your veins. Yeah, yuck. But after an intense scene with Geneco, which I want you guys to see this film, Shiloh wakes up in her bed to her father, Nathan Wallace. This is Anthony Head, and we immediately discover that he is an overprotective father due to Shiloh's condition, making sure that she always takes her meds because of her blood disease. Now, the scene itself with the soft lighting is beautifully done. However, the shadows kind of give this kind of caged, enclosed feeling, like this very claustrophobic feeling. And that's, again, when you take the cinematography and mise-en-scène like that, it helps exaggerate, just kind of with a comic book, you show don't tell in a sense. So very well done here. But, and then to kind of echo that, eerily enough, Nathan keeps his daughter locked away in her room due to her condition, saying that she can't go outside. However, as we just saw a moment ago, she has a bad habit of sneaking out. Now, this film, what I really enjoy about it is how it brings you up to speed on every character through the use of comic panels. This is how it shows Nathan fell in love with Marnie, how she got sick and passed away while pregnant with Shiloh. Now, Anthony Head, Nathan, he was added to the cast because the producers were so impressed by his singing from the episode The Once Upon a Feeling from Buffy. That was the musical episode. I've been trying to catch up with that on Amazon Prime, and just like how I was with Repo, I'm very hesitant to want to see a Buffy musical episode. Feel free to make fun of me down in the comments, but that's just my take. I may just have to take your word for it that it's good, but maybe one of these days I'll sit down and have my expectations subverted in a positive way. Now, the song and the imagery with Nathan here is haunting. You get this very heavy bass. And you come to see that the house has become a museum to Marnie, which is almost like a mausoleum. But the way that the images, like the pictures, are 3D, it's a very cool effect. And it just gives like this more ghost feeling, like haunted house, like the spirits, like let's say from something like Hamlet. They're just watching Nathan become this monster. And the way he moves through the house, again with the deep shadows, very enclosed, it just adds to this dreariness. Now, spoiler, the house symbolizes the change in Nathan. And this is where we find out who Nathan really is.
The Repo legal assassin!
Now, after that lovely bit, and you just have to take a minute to breathe, we are then introduced to Roddy's rotten bunch, his kids. We have Amber Sweet, surprisingly played by Paris Hilton. And then we have Luigi Largo, played by Bill Moseley, I think is how I pronounce his name. And he will always be Otis in House of a Thousand Corpses, just because, you've seen those films, and then you see him here, and it's just stark difference of seeing this, like, scraggly gray hair to him being more business looking. And then the third of the family is Pavi Largo. And this is Ken Ogleville, or for those of you that are in the industrial scene, this is Ogre from Skinny Puppy. So let's stop here for a second. What I think finally locked me in when I first saw this film, when I was about at this scene, is the fact that we have I think he's the lead singer of Skinny Puppy. And then from what I understand when I watch behind the scenes stuff, a majority of the producers of 9 Inch Nails was behind this. Hence why we have that heavy industrial, again, cyber noir to this film. But even though this part is very macabre, it adds a little bit of levity as the kids bicker over who's going to control Geneco now with the news of their father. And this is almost Texas Chainsaw magnitude proportions, because they're just going around fighting one another in the kind of talk singing. It's funny, a lot of the words that they say. And you may be asking yourself why Pavi's face looks like he has dough over it. You find out that Amber Sweet's a Zydrate addict. Pavi likes to steal other people's faces and meat hook them onto himself. And it's kind of like a fashion trend, because since organ transplants has become this part of the future, so body modification is very much a very big trend. And you can kind of see the subtext of modern society without it being heavy-handed or too much, not too much, but in a sense on the nose. Now that the plot's thickened, we now go back to our lovely little comic book spread. And we learn that Roddy was originally going to marry Marnie. But he lost her to Nathan, who was Roddy's best friend. And you can see the hurt on his face. Now, there's something that he does to Marnie. What he does allows Roddy to blackmail Nathan to become the Repo Man. So with Roddy knowing how rotten his kids are, he's now looking for his own heir to his fortune. He doesn't want his kids, who are junkies, greedy, and caught in numerous scandals. So he turns his attention to Shiloh and has a special way to lure her into his clutches. Now, around here is where we learn that Shiloh is a giant fan of Geneco's singer, Blind Mag, who's Sarah Brightman. And the way she looks, you're looking at her eyes and you're thinking, what is going on? She has this very powerful look about her. And she wants to leave Geneco. And Roddy's daughter, Amber, she wants to take over. But Roddy's evil knows no bounds. So here again we get an interlude, and this is what I mean by the way that we're able to quickly be brought up on the backstories of each characters. We learn that Mags was Marnie's best friend. She was blind, and had an organ donation in order to see. But Roddy talked her into signing a long-term contract with Geneco. And Roddy makes sure that she doesn't forget it. In this dystopia, body modification and Zydrate use runs rampant.
Drug market, submarket.
Here we see how junkies are addicted to Zydrate and how Amber Sweet's supposed to be the poster child of the recovery, but she's just as bad in terms of Zydrate use and plastic surgery. Now, one thing I will give props to Paris Hilton is, we do make fun of her a lot, but apparently she was so much, involved in this film that she donated a load of her wardrobe to the production in order to help keep it afloat. So good on you, Chica. From what I understand, they actually said that her doing that saved a lot of money on costume and wardrobe and really helped save the production. So I'll give her props for that. Now, as the movie progresses, and Mags wants to talk about leaving, Roddy wants Nathan to take Blind Mags out. And he's protesting. And this puts him on Roddy's shit list. Now, if you recall, Shiloh is introduced to Blind Mags, and she's just oogling and ogling. And Mags kind of looks at her in a sort of like scared trance. And so you get a surprise visit from Mags.
How do I put this? I'm your godmom.
She had no idea that Shiloh was still alive. Nathan never told her. And because of all this, everything comes to a boiling point with Nathan and Mags and his own daughter. So here we get like this rebellion of innocence, being lost from Shiloh.
17, Mama Drama's got to go down.
Now you're kind of thinking, this song's kind of hokey, but it has that punk rock youth rebellion energy to it. But I love it. I dig it, and especially the fact that Joan Jett made a cameo. That, to me, in and of itself, was exciting. Which, sadly, at this point, causes Nathan to snap. And a lot of heartbreak happens here. So after this heart-wrenching scene, everything's going to come to a head at what's called the genetic opera.
Bloodbath. It's gonna be a bloodbath.
Nathan's going to go after Geneco to save Shiloh from Roddy. And when we actually get to this opera, I love DJ Granny scratching. Now, here there's a lot of people testifying what Geneco has done for them and whatnot. It's an interesting scene. Let's just leave it at that. But we open on Blind Mags.
Can't take these eyes.
And it is just the song, and it's beautifully done, but it is chilling. Especially when it comes to the crescendo and the way she essentially avoids her Geneco contract. And more so, the severance package that Roddy gives her. Now, while this is going on, Shiloh learns who the Repo Man is. And you can just see the hurt, especially as we cut back with Roddy. And she finds out that the medicine that her father's been giving her is what's making her sick. She never had a blood disease. And so it's so much for her to take in, and you can just feel the weight of the decision Shiloh has to make at this point in the movie. You don't know what she's going to do to Roddy. You don't know what she's going to do to her own father. But folks, you're going to have to watch the movie, because this is where I want to end the review. What's going to be the fate of Shiloh and her father? Does she inherit Geneco? What is to become of Roddy? Well, I must say, please watch Repo, the Genetic Opera. It's definitely a love letter to opera, horror, and rock and roll. It's sad that the movie bombed in the theater, But at least, just like with a lot of films, it has become a cult classic, and rightfully so. The music is awesome. The sets are beautiful. The wardrobe, it just all enhances what you see. It's a spectacle. The characters are fun, each in their own way, and it makes you invested. It makes you want to explore and see more of this world. I would have loved to seen a trilogy, but sometimes I feel that a movie, can stand on its own, and I do feel like Repo will stand the test of time. So if you want something that has some awesome, blood-pounding, curling, horror, heavy industrial rock music, and just that awesome cyber noir punk feeling, Repo, the Genetic Opera, is the film for you. Let me know what you guys think of this down in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button, it would really help me out, and it'll get you guys notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts down in the comments below or on our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank y'all so much for stopping by, and I hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day watching films, and happy viewing, true believers.